Hello, I'm Andres, and I'm working in a video game museum. So, when people come to our museum, most of them have one problem in common. The games that are older are too hard for them. And many visitors are trying usually Super Mario or Contra, and almost all of them die on the first level. So the question today is, why old video games are so hard? Well, the first thing is that maybe they're not really hard, it's just the game design changed so much. Of course, the old games on video game consoles from 80s and 90s mostly came from arcades. And in arcades, you had to pay to play. So, one coin gave you one life, and when you die, you have to put another coin. So, all of the games had this kind of game design to make you die as fast as possible. The more you die, the more you pay. But at the same time, the better you get, less money you use. So, you had to get better and better, try again and again, one more time, and one more time, until you could finally beat the game, or until the money ran out. So, many games were just ports of arcade games that went to home consoles, and as we see on the games for maybe Atari 2600, the game like infamous, really bad copy of PacMan, you just play as much as you can. You play more and more until you get a high score. So, many games were designed for a high score. There was no end. You can play PacMan almost forever until the game breaks. Later, we got more and more games with the ending, like Contra. Contra is a good game to show. So there is an ending, and there are only 8 levels. So, if the game would be easy, you could really go through the game in half an hour. So they had to make the game as hard as possible, so you could spend more and more time on the game. Then you can ask me, well, they could make more levels. It was hard. If you really want to have good quality graphics, interesting design, game design, and just a beautiful picture, you need to use more memory. And cartridges of those generations of consoles didn't have enough memory. So there were like 128 kilobytes of memory for a game, and they had to cram as much as possible. So we have 2 reasons. First of all, because of the arcade design, and the second one is the limit of space. When we got Sega Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, games began to be a bit easier. Graphics became better, sound more rich, and the entry level for gamers became smaller and smaller. That is just a tiny piece of information. The topic is really big, and we can speak a few hours about it. And of course, there are really hard games right now, like Dark Souls, but mostly the modern games became more accessible for wider audience, for parents, kids, anyone to just relax and play. And if you want a hardcore game, there are those right now, and you can always play something retro and remind yourself how hard it was to finish those games.